Anyway, I gotta pee real quick, but there's the content deputy. We'll take a look at that right now, okay? I think you need to watch Cavernicle's new video off stream. Ethan is seriously pulling us away from what's actually important. No, I think it's still, I'm not addressing the drama of it all. I'm addressing the actual meat and the bones of the conversation and the disinformation that was presented. I gotta pee.
Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Content Deputy. Now normally in a Content Deputy I would dance around in my cop outfit in the woods, but this video isn't going to have any of that fanfare. We're just going to get straight into it. I was hoping that if I made a video about Ethan, he would act like an adult and he would keep the attacks directed at me and Anissa. Unfortunately, I was wrong in thinking that because Ethan, in a desperate attempt to attack and smear Anissa and I, he started attacking our charity event.
I don't know if you know this, but the last year they lost $250,000. To be charitable, you actually have to give money to charity, Hassan. You have to give money to be charity. It's like a slush fund for them.
Ethan and Neela are well aware that we raised $1.3 million for charity the first year of Creator Clash. The second year we operated at a loss, and I take full responsibility for that. We did band together. The community and the fighters involved ended up raising $175,000 for charity. It's been really disheartening to see how often Ethan will attack Creator Clash through us or attack us through Creator Clash.
Ian and Anissa, masters of putting on an event.
He's reposting random troll accounts that are very easy to vet. If you click on this profile, it has a bunch of Sam Hyde adjacent posts and it just hates Anissa and I. Come on, dude, you're one step away from calling me a cuck. Just take the plunge. He's highlighting this post that equates Creator Clash to a crypto rug pull. He's saying the event is gonna be worse than TanaCon. Can't wait for them to blame us for their failed event. Don't worry, Hila. I'm not going to blame you guys for anything Creator Clash related. I know you're terrified of taking accountability for anything, so that will rest solely on my shoulders. But I can't speak for the internet. The internet might actually blame you guys for it. Now, with this recent revelation that people are just going to use Creator Clash to attack Anissa and I have decided to step away from Creator Clash. We have relinquished control to our business partners who ran the previous two events. They're very capable. They know exactly what they're doing. They run events on a regular basis. The event is still happening. Anissa and I just don't have any financial ties. We don't have any ownership. We are, I think just going to be known as the founders of the event. Yeah, I mean, I think it had to come to this eventually. I can't keep my mouth shut. I can't, I can. I just didn't want to. I want to be frank. I want to be honest. I was very quiet during the second Creator Clash because I was afraid of how that would impact other people. This year I said I'm going to do something different. I'm going to fight back if someone's trying to attack me. So that's what I did. And now I've realized, I can't really have my cake and eat it too. It's either you're going to talk shit like a foul beast on the internet, or you're going to have a charity event. It really can't be both. I'm very proud of the event that we made with Creator Clash. It's still happening, June 28th. I'm just not going to be involved in it. Please, for the love of God, support this event. I feel like in some ways I'm like cutting off an arm so that I could escape the bear trap and so I can fight. Well, that's a bad analogy. You guys get it. We've already told all the fighters, and it seems like most people understand that this is the best move. If the previous Content Cop was entertaining to you, or this video is entertaining, or you like the message, the best thing that you can do, for me, is to support Creator Clash. Buy a ticket, buy a pay-per-view ticket, an in-person ticket, or donate to the fundraiser. I just want to see this event do well. I didn't try this shit because I thought I was going to be a good boxer. I didn't think I would be an awesome event organizer. And now I'm finally back to where I started, which is making Content Cop videos. I don't want to make this too ham-fisted, but I kind of do want to make it ham-fisted because I'm like, I spent my last 4 years working on this stupid boxing shit. I mean, it was worth it, absolutely, but it's crazy that I've just returned to Content Cop. Having said all that, Creator Clash ticket link down in the description. Go check it out, buy tickets, support the charity, support the fighters, and have a good-ass time. I mean, ultimately, I think it's a good thing because I think I am meant to roll around in shit. I think me and Ethan are both meant to be rolling around in pig shit all day long, and other people are meant to do boxing or debating or whatever else. Ethan and me, pig shit rolling around type of fellas.
You underestimate my strength! I've got kosher strength! The will of Allah! I mean Yahweh! Yahweh!
I think the worst criticisms I labeled at Ethan is that he's a bad boss, a tyrant of a boss. I just implied that he was being taken advantage of by people either in his community or outside of his community, and I called him a bitch-made coward. That was like the summary of personal insults labeled at Ethan. Before Ethan even knew what my video was about, he was already framing me as anti-Semitic.
But he's like, no, actually, Ethan, the Jew bag, this Jew bag Zionist baby killer, guys, right?
I don't know if that's what the video is.
I'm one of you. I hate Jews too, guys. Let's get after it. Israelis have no right to defend themselves, actually. All Israelis are settlers, actually. What is he going to give me a history lesson now? Is he a historian? Yeah, he just discovered empathy, by the way, and only extends to the point where you're actually talking about Jewish people or Israelis. Then empathy stops and they should all be murdered. Bro's actually out there like Timothy McVeigh. He's running to the closest kindergarten to blow it up. There's a Jew. I heard there's a Jewish.
That's not what Timothy McVeigh did.
They want all you guys to quit and for me to just be like alone, little Jew boy, alone.
Like Ethan under a year.
Like this doesn't make sense if your position is that like Israel's committing a genocide. You know what I mean? Like I need a lot of you to reflect on what we are looking at from the perspective of Ethan claiming that he is a defender, a stalwart ally of Palestinians as he presented himself as yesterday, and one that recognizes that Israel is committing a genocide. Because if you are considering what Israel's doing is like an act of self-defense, then you can't also simultaneously say it's a genocide. You believe one or the other. And I'm inclined to believe that the side that he's heavily leaned on is the side that is Israel has a right to defend itself. And that's precisely the reason. That is precisely the reason why I think he believes that there's a genocide was bullshit. Specifically because he wanted to. He doesn't have any real positions in this beyond fuck us on. I'm going to try to make sure you look hypocritical, which I don't even think I mean, it didn't really work. And it ended up making him look inconsistent. Yeah, he says it's a genocide to diffuse your points. Exactly, which is so crazy. Just grow up, bruh, sad. Are you telling me this, or the 40-year-old man who's like using the backdrop of endless amounts of violence that he claims to acknowledge as a mechanism to drive home his petty agenda and claim that like his former podcast co-host is being, and all of his former friends are being incredibly anti-Semitic because they're critical of his behavior in this time, and not the Nazis that have found a comfortable home inside of the newfound H3H3 community.
Ago was saying he doesn't use anti-Semitism in that way. He's not a guy to call anything and everything anti-Semitic.
You know, in my whole life, I've never screamed foul on anti-Semitism. I literally have been getting this shit since the second I stepped foot on the internet, and I have never, ever done this, okay? So the people online, they're saying, oh, Ethan's making himself a victim, or Ethan's making everything about anti-Semitism. I've done this once in my life right now. But he's like, no, actually, Ethan, the Jew bag, this Jew bag Zionist baby killer, guys, right?
I don't know if that's what the video is.
I mean, I get that he's scared and offended, but this was the whole point of my video, Ethan. I was saying that you shouldn't be doing this. It led to me making this video in the first place. You were triggered by this CPS harassment thing, and then you immediately equated Anissa and I to it. That was sloppy, and that was horrendous, and it was horrendous for us. And now you're doing it again.
I'm going to watch it live.
Should you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't care. But like, why?
I just don't think, I feel like you're going to get really emotional and say something you regret.
Well, I've got the button.
Like, I know you don't have a problem taking it head on, but I just feel
of course not. Because I know that
you're understandably upset, and I feel like it might be a little...
Should we wait to talk about it, or you want to talk about it?
You should do it off stream. Because I don't know, this escalated initially because we were live and you guys were heated about, I forget what it was.
I just think it might be wise to watch it, think out your thoughts, and respond in a calm way. Because there's no chance that you don't get heated.
I don't need to pre-watch this. I don't need someone else to hold my hand through it. Like, I'm ready to take on anything that these people have to say about me. He's like, no, actually, Ethan, the Jew bag, this Jew bag Zionist baby killer, guys, I'm one of you. I hate Jews too, guys.
You attacked us, so I attacked back, and now you're acting surprised and shocked, and you're doing it all on your podcast live. So naturally, you reacting live is you having an emotional reaction and seeing things that honestly are scary.
I just said I vented about them not defending me. What the is he like? He's actually losing his shit and I just can't believe it, dude.
Should call him up.
So go f yourself.
I agree. Fair weather friends who are so happy to be friends as long as they're getting something out of it.
Ian sucks for the same reason right now. He could say something
Spineless. Our POV is like everybody, and I don't want to hear any excuses. You're not my friend, and you never were, and you never will be. You never will be.
What's very insane about this content cop is I was thinking about Ethan's feelings so much in that video. I thought about the idea of like how I shouldn't be saying the term Zionist or Zionism in that video, because I was like, he has explained before that that's personally insulting to him and he doesn't like that. You know, regardless of how true it is, I was like, I'm going to think about Ethan's feelings and not mention this. Fast forward to him reacting to my video, he's just outright calling me a Nazi.
Is it a coincidence that Ian really shaved his head just before doing this video and he's holding a swastika one? I mean, we can free Palestine without being a Nazi. You Nazis. How about that? Well, this is the white savior, Ian.
This is the twofold problem here, because like from the onlooker's perspective, when Ethan is like making these claims and like using them against me for some reason, there's a twofold issue. One, I think the claims are ridiculous, and two, I wasn't even there to begin with. So when I talk about the fact that like I don't know what the decision making process was there, okay, I'm not saying that to like hide my fears, like hide my shame that I participated in this. And that's the way he tried to present it, right? That's the way he tried to present it as. And I was like, no, I don't think this is a real claim. I don't think this is valid. And also, you know, I don't know why they made this decision in any, like, I don't know why they made this decision, but I also don't even think that this is like a real grievance that you are advancing. And it also didn't make any sense in the way that he defended this position, because Redditors claim you paid for this video you're watching. Well, oh God, I don't know why. I mean, yeah, they're Redditors, man. That's it.
Ian, who's just found empathy, unless you're Jewish, of course.
Ethan, people are allowed to shave their head and not be called anti-Semitic. I mean, if you're going to critique his podcast or be pissed off that he personally insulted you, even that is enough to be called anti-Semitic. It's crazy. Now, I don't want to talk about Hassan's sword. I don't want to talk about Hassan's sword hilt because Ethan himself basically admitted already multiple times he doesn't think any of us did that intentionally. And he would be right.
Do I think any of them actually like wanted to put a swastika in the photo? No,
Yeah,
that's no. I don't actually think that. The chances that they did on purpose is close to zero, right? So I'm not accusing them.
I picked up.
This is so consistent with the way that he has behaved for the past year, by the way. On the one hand, he says, I don't think it's serious. On the other hand, when he wants to use it as an argument, he's like, this is the most serious, most severe escalation of anti-Semitism against me. You are putting me in harm's way. All this shit. And it's like, so why are you accusing people of this if you don't even believe it yourself? And that was also something that we arrived at in the conversation when he brought this forward as his like signature own in the beginning, where he was like, the content cop was lame, right? You were feeling lame about it, right? And I was like, I don't know. I participated in a sketch and I don't mind doing that. I mean, you've worn diapers on numerous occasions. Like, you're a comedian, you know? He also said he didn't actually think it was a swastika. Yeah, his position is untenable. Yeah, look, this is the other point that I'm making, which I think is important to address here. Ethan's allegiance with some of the worst reactionaries online simply because they hate me is so odd because it directly undermines his position of someone combating anti-Semitism. It would be like if I hyped up Bilzerian, Fresh and Fit, Sneeko, or Clandis because they hate H3 or Israel. I know that these are people who also are anti-Semitic. I do not want fans of these people in my community unless they are willing to learn, unless they're willing to entertain an alternative vision of society, one where they don't think that Jews are responsible for all the problems that they're foreseeing, okay? I work actively to try and deprogram people from these communities to make them understand that their grievances are ridiculous and their hatred for Jews is pathological. He's a pathological liar, which makes it hard to argue with him because you need a clip for everything you say, or else it will be the lie, just like he did about the 115 IG stories. That's a lie. I know, but I think what's really silly about it is that like his audience does actually watch all of his slop, so they should know better, right? Is there no moment where like someone a foot soldier goes, wait a minute, I've been following your Instagram. You probably did actually post 110 individual Instagram stories about Hassan. You know, you have been posting quite a bit about Hassan. I mean, it was funny because it was shocking even to him. Like that was what was hilarious about it, which was that it was literally shocking to him that he had done that. That should be a wake-up call. That should be a moment where he understood the depths of his manic behavior. Like, think about that. Yeah, he could not believe it. I think you're missing the point that he was trying to do. His entire purpose of the debate was to smear your image, regardless of how far he was reaching. He tried to get the public to label you an anti-Semite. He didn't have a counter argument for anything you defended. Yeah, I don't think the public thinks I'm anti-Semitic. I don't think the neo-Nazis that are now celebrating Ethan think I'm anti-Semitic, because if they did, they would love me. Okay, so obviously, yeah, do with that information what you will. Right? You can't just keep saying someone is anti-Semitic without like actual real points of contention. And especially because, look, especially considering how seriously I take anti-Semitism in general and how much I talk about dog whistles, or even, as he made a joke about, microaggressions even, okay, which I did see a TikTok commenting saying I literally see him post stories every day about Hassan. Yeah, that like I think he was just like saying it was anti-Semitic because people were just criticizing him, and I tried to drive home that point.
Up a random sword in Hassan's room that was laying around. That could be the end of the discussion. You don't actually need to debate Hassan about the sword hilt.
He left it up.
Decision making.
If it was a mistake, he could have deleted it.
But I'm not going to delete the photo because that would be indulging in your weird anti-Semitic fantasies.
We can free Palestine without being a Nazi. You Nazis, how about that?
I'm done being nice to Ethan. I gave it a chance. My sincerity and my empathy in that last video was real. I was even equating to him having crash out moments in the same way that denims could have crash out moments. I think we're all capable of it, but he was using it in the video to suggest that I was making fun of his mental health.
Shouldn't we just assume his point is you're doing anti-Semitic things and debunk why your action and points aren't that, instead of point blank just saying we aren't anti-Semitic? Okay, you just mentioned that, right? Which I did. I tried to also autistically like explain to him that this is frivolous because it's, you know, you're reading too much into it and you think that there's a dog whistle there when there isn't one. And what did he do? He said, "Nope, you're anti-Semitic. I'm convinced." Okay, I guess it's over at that point, right? Or whenever I debunked something that he mentioned, he would recognize it and then go, "This is too boring. Let's move on. Don't you want to make content?" Like, no, I don't. I don't want to make content out of this.
To my good friend Ian of 8 years, I really appreciate you weaponizing my mental health against me.
To make Ethan crash out. He's having a parasocial weird crash out. People can have crash out moments. Maybe if Ethan's able to get some help. Dude, I'm not making fun of your mental health. Every example you used was me basically saying that other people are trying to affect you. It's understandable.
Oh, yeah. I'm the Redditor that got the letter from his lawyer. He also lied about the clip being paywalled content. I posted proof on my Twitter. Yeah, I mean, he lied about virtually everything. You missed a point on Hezbollah killing 500K Syrians as a fact-running defense for ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and Assad regime. No, I didn't miss that point. I actually mentioned all of that, with the exception of Al-Qaeda, I believe. I said, when you say Hezbollah committed 500,000 deaths and sit in front of a photo of a hollowed out city that was barrel bombed, you're actually running defense for all of the deaths that ISIS and the Russian Air Force and the Assad government actually committed. I did say that. See, so here's the problem though, because it was a 5-hour long conversation, I think that gets lost in the sauce. I think a lot of people just like kind of didn't hear me, or maybe they didn't see it, or maybe I did say that. There was a lot of like semantic differences, I guess, that he tried to point out in order to draw out some kind of inconsistency, but it was ridiculous. Proof of the lie directly from his lawyer. I am licensed attorney for the copyright. Ethan debates anti-Semitic Sneeko fan. The work is exclusively available on my client's YouTube channel. The infringing clip is derived from timestamp of the work. The infringing clip is a separate copy of the work and is not an embed of the original. Rather, the infringing clip appears to reside on Reddit servers. My client has not authorized the creation. So it wasn't even a paywalled content. Is that what it is? Ethan and Dan confirmed that posting the snark will get you banned. The infringing post. The infringing post contains a clip, the infringing clip from my client's copyrighted video entitled Ethan Debates Anti-Semitic Sneeko Fan. By the way, even if it was paywalled content, I still think it's ridiculous. It's a frivolous lawsuit. It's a frivolous lawsuit directly created as a way to extort and also put pressure on people who do not have the financial opportunity or the financial circumstances to fight back against a much wealthier person who has the time to engage in frivolous lawsuits.
That you're going through this right now, Ethan. We all go through this.
To characterize anything I'm doing as crashing out, that I need help, that I need to get some kind of treatment, is cruel and pathetic on a level I didn't think would ever be possible of doing.
Every example that you tried to smear me with was me actually pointing to something else that could be affecting you. He even brought up the clip of me saying, if you get help. We all need help. Everyone on this planet needs help. I don't care how you get it. You can wander into the jungle and go on an ayahuasca trip. I don't care how you get your help or what you define as help. But if it helps you, that would be good. Because right now it doesn't seem like you're getting much help. The main criticism that I was seeing online with my video from Ethan and Hila is that I didn't mention the CPS call.
There's really just one central point that I want to make here. My good friend Ian, in his hour-long takedown, did not mention one time Child Protective Services. Not one time.
There was not even one mention of CPS.
And a lot of the clips he uses is us fired up from...
Yeah, except it turns out the CPS stuff, he also admitted in our conversation yesterday, was not tied back to Snark at all by his own admission. It's just basically something that he packaged together without any evidence whatsoever. And like a lot of people just keep going along with this. I don't understand. Even if it was Snark, I don't even understand how that would tie back to me. But let's say like it just doesn't make any sense. Like these are not my subreddits. His subreddit is directly controlled by him and his moderators. And his subreddit has done virtually everything that he says Snark is doing to him. Clip of that. You have evidence that H3 Snark called CPS on you?
Did I say that?
Like random anonymous
Did I
Redditors?
say that?
Who called CPS?
What the f? So, I don't know. Did I claim they did?
Like, this is the title of their show. Snark called Child Protective Services on us. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, how can people look at this and go, man, he really presented himself in this He really presented himself as an honest broker here, and he kept his composure throughout this process. It's like, okay, well, he just lied about everything. You know what I mean? And I actually did retort against his lies over and over again. I was like, yes, you did. You implied it. He literally said on the podcast the day they first talked about it, the CPS agent said it was someone who knows him in real life. I don't even know the details because I don't keep up with whatever the f- is going on in Ethan's life. That would be ridiculous if I did that. That would be insane if I did that. There's so much news happening. Like one thing that I will say, by the way, where obviously his gaslighting absolutely works on me because I'm still in that process going to go, maybe I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. One of the greatest examples of said gaslighting happened in real time in a sequence of like 10 seconds, basically, where he said that I did October 7, right? Like, I know he misspoke. I understand that he misspoke. I'm maybe still giving the benefit of the doubt to Ethan, but like, yeah, he misspoke. I heard that and I said, what do you mean? I did October 7? What are you saying? And he quickly said, oh, are you hearing stuff? Are you hearing stuff? And he gaslit me in real time.
The issue, my friend.
Like, that's so crazy. Like, how is that not an immediate reaction? How is that not, like, that being the immediate reaction, how is that not ringing any alarm bells in any of the girly pop nation's minds that like maybe he's the one who's the narcissistic manipulator?
My friend, the issue at hand is your behavior.
No, I think the issue at hand is the genocide. No, this isn't the clip that I'm looking at. You even said you don't even know where he lives too. So how could you even be the one to do it? Yeah, I mean, I don't even think it thinks it's me. Oh, this is the one. Yeah. On this, why have they not led to any real prosecution?
They're dead. They're dead, you moron. What do you mean?
First-hand testimony in this regard.
They killed all the Hamas operatives in Israel.
I killed them?
What? Why are you dead?
No,
They're dead, you moron. What do you mean?
First-hand testimony in this regard.
They killed all the Hamas operatives in Israel.
I killed them?
What? Why
are you saying
okay?
you killed them?
I said they. Why the f would I say you killed them? That's insanely stupid. Are you okay? Hallucinating.
You shouldn't retweet it though, because since you agreed he misspoke, brother. If you don't understand that the main point of contention here is that he immediately went to gaslight me and caused me to believe him instantly. Okay, he immediately went to gaslight me, and I believed him. That's the point here. That like his first response instantly is to not go, wait, I might have misspoke, but instead to go, no, I didn't. You're stupid. Are you crazy? Are you crazy? Are you crashing out? Like, come on, dude. Like, that shows me being charitable to him, even in that moment where he's like smearing me with the worst smears possible. Come on, chatter.
The day that CPS came to us,
so like
without even explaining that, at least that's the context. It's pretty cowardly.
I wonder why I wouldn't mention the CPS call. Could it be that the CPS call happened the same day that you were shit-talking me? And I didn't have any chance to defend myself. You just immediately, in the same podcast, right next to each other, said, CPS call was very traumatic. And then you said, Ian and Anissa. And you linked those together, you kind of layered those flavors, and then Anissa and I got a bunch of harassment. We had nothing to do with the CPS call. What are all these comments on your Reddit saying, like, it happened because of the CPS call? I don't entirely blame.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Like, there's a lot of, you know how, like, there's the double Nakba situation that Ethan engaged in defense of the inception of the state of Israel, saying that Arab anti-Semitism caused Jews to become Zionist. A horrifying thing to say, especially when you're talking about the planned expulsion of Palestinians in comparison to other countries that are not related, right? Other Arab nations that you can only attribute to the same kind of sentiment if you are an anti-Arab racist. There is a lot of there's a lot of this going on here as well. There's like, oh, you did the CPS call actually. Like, it turns into we don't know who called CPS to actually Hassan and iDubbbz called CPS. In the minds of his audience, they literally go around being like, well, your audience called CPS. That's why he's actually frazzled. And it's crazy to just like attribute this kind of shit. Like, if Ethan, God forbid, got into a car accident tomorrow and came out and said, I got into a car crash because I hit I got into a car crash with a snarker without any evidence whatsoever, and then attributed that to me, everyone would say I did the car crash. What are we doing? Like, things are happening completely beyond my control that I don't even know about, that I'm oblivious to, that I'm not interested in covering even in any way, shape, or form. And he basically just will use any and everything that has happened in his life that I also think are unconscionable and totally inconsiderate from the parties that actually engaged in, that tried to cause harm to him directly, is somehow my fault. When I'm the one, oddly enough, Asmongold seems to believe the CPS call came from him. Yeah, of course they believe that.
Your audience for getting confused, because number one, it's a cult, and number two, you can't even get the timeline straight. So if anyone's watching your dumbass, their brain is also going to get scrambled.
Be friends as long as they're getting something out of it. So again, he's not showing the context. What was the okay, I'll play this part. Did you guys ever find the context of what I was talking about?
Struggling to recall the context of him shit talking our intentions as friends
here, because I feel like I wasn't even talking about him. I could be wrong. I just don't remember ever saying like. If I did say that,
I thought you were talking about them, about Anissa and Ian in that clip.
That's the same clip of
it's all the
when
part of the
CPS
same
was
clip.
called.
Yeah.
Same clip.
It's part of the same conversation.
You completely wiped your brain of what happened during the CPS stream. That's not my fault. That's no one else's fault but yours.
All I wanted for you to do was say the bare minimum of like, hey, this is up. This is not true about CPS, whatever, like the bare minimum. It came up because they were talking about it on their podcast. By the way, they're the ones that like started this conversation by talking about it on the podcast. Be like, hey, I'm not getting involved.
Yeah, look, extreme timeline confusion. We expressed sympathy for Ethan and Hila on our podcast 4 days after he attacked us.
I think that was their response after you guys initially called them out.
This is what I was talking about. You cannot.
Like, that's also a huge issue is Ethan can't remember 90% of the shit he says himself. I know, but like, why is his audience treating him like he can? Why is his audience treating this as though it's deliberate or as though like this is actually what took place? This is my question. This doesn't make any sense. He goes back and forth on all of his positions. It is incredibly inconsistent. Even if we're going to attribute it to his memory loss or something, I find that very strange that other people are taking them seriously and other people are going around and constantly complaining about it. Like H3 claimed the 110 Insta posts in January is fake. No, I already showed the data dump. Okay, I already showed it on my channel, and then immediately they were like, "Well, the person who shared this is like, who is this person? Let's go dox them." Like they have one speed. They literally always are just like, "Let's dox the person. Let's dox the person. Anyone and everyone." We've just basically forgotten the fact that it was so ridiculous that Ethan himself couldn't believe it. His own depravity. Understand that Ethan himself could not in that moment believe his own mania, so much so that he turned around and said, "What, since 2023? 110 Instagram stories since 2023? Nope. Since 2025."
Have something terrible happen, be like, yes, let's make some content, and then shit talk your friends of 8 years.
I'm so fired up, I don't even know what to do with myself, which is why I'm crying. On that, I don't know if that's a good state to be in life.
That's that. Kind of spitting.
And a lot of the clips he uses is us fired up from the day that CPS came to us.
For anyone confused about the timeline, Ethan was talking shit about us on his Instagram before any CPS shit. He was also talking shit about us on his podcast before any CPS visit. On March 7th, CPS visits Ethan and Hila, and that same day, they decide, let's do our podcast, and let's have the topic be the CPS visit and how distraught we are about that. And then right next to that, right after it, you guys talk about me and Anissa. But you don't just talk about us. You shit talk us, and you imply that we're friends with people who are doing this, who are the ones who are harassing you.
Do you have evidence that H3 Snark called CPS on you?
Did I say
like
that?
Random anonymous Redditors?
Did I say that?
Wait, what's the...
I said
so
they're primarily responsible for harassing me.
Who called CPS?
What the f? So, I don't know.
To be honest, I'm very proud that I didn't immediately jump to Ethan and Hila's defense, because when you...
Is airing CPS call normal at all? No, that's the other side of this. I'm not going to criticize content creators for talking about the deep and personal harm that they withstand as a byproduct of being online content creators. I'm not going to criticize them, to each their own, but under normal circumstances, myself included, by the way, this is something that every content creator deliberately keeps to themselves because it creates copycats. Okay. And by that, I don't mean CPS calls. I mean swatting, doxing, stalkers showing up to your house. Things of that nature happen in the background and are often not discussed. There's a reason why even LSF, which is a horrible, awful community online, brigaded to oblivion by literally and completely controlled by a guy who is in Destiny's own community. Even that instrument of mass harassment still doesn't post about swattings. And the reason for why they don't do that is because when you post about swattings or you talk about swattings, that creates an even more dangerous environment for all content creators, because it creates copycats and there's basically nothing you can do about it in that circumstance. I mean, there are some things you can do about it, but so I'm not, if they want to talk about their own, the people that are attacking them, that it's on them, that's, if they choose that this is appropriate to talk about, then that's on them. But I'm telling you why most people, myself included, don't talk about this shit.
Look into the story, it actually looks a lot shittier for Ethan and Hila. And I do mean that literally. There was this H3 stream where Ethan
Dude, how come you didn't prepare evidence against Ethan's lies is such a funny thing to get mad at me over, because I did, and I did retort, and he just said, no, you're lying. What am I to do in that situation? He's not pulling clips. What am I supposed to do? He's controlling the clips. It's like yelling at me because of the structure that was designed so that he could do a faucet of Gish galloping, Mott Bailey, and endless sequence of lies. There are so many instances where he even openly admitted that he lied, but I guess you didn't pay attention to that at all. You know, I guess you did not pay attention to that part of the conversation where he would be like, yeah, I'm wrong. My bad. Let's move on. I'm bored. This is unwatchable. What am I? Okay. You're mad at me because he just kept lying or openly admitting that he was wrong in an effort to move on. What should I have done? Like, he openly admitted to smearing me. He openly admitted to engaging in bad faith in the conversation. After that concession, what am I supposed to do?
Was dumping as per usual. He was talking about his own health. He was talking about his caca breath, his dog having diarrhea, his dog having giardia.
Olive has giardia. It's a bacterial infection in the intestines that makes you have diarrhea.
His child running around putting things in their mouth.
Sonny's crawling around. He's putting everything in his mouth. He's at that age. He has giardia.
The whole family possibly having giardia.
Oh,
And now Ela has giardia.
Shut. For real?
And now I think this morning I had diarrhea.
Oh my God.
What can I do to not get it from you?
I'm trying
to.
Because I'm not trying to get
No, it's extremely ridiculous to get. You have to ingest my poop.
Talking about the viscosity of his child's shit.
And meanwhile, he is covered in viscous, low viscosity diarrhea.
He mentioned diarrhea a lot.
Crazy diarrheas like in the middle of the night. All the time he's having these crazy diarrheas. You wash your hands as best you can, but these are really nasty diarrheas. And then extremely foul smelling diarrheas.
So of course, Ethan, having made so many enemies over the years, other people react to his content. And when other people see that he's talking about his children getting giardia from dog poop.
Sonny's crawling around. He's putting everything in his mouth. He's at that age. He has giardia.
People are quite reasonably concerned. And so, yes, anyone who...
What is this show, man? What is like what the fuck? What's the purpose of content for this? Like, I don't I'm having a hard time trying to comprehend what is happening on this show. Like, every time I see a new clip, I'm like, what? I mean, I guess I talk about silly shit as well. You know, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what Ian's point is going to be here, but I will say, regardless, like, no, I don't think that, like, I don't think that there is any validity to CPS calls to Ethan by virtue of how many professional people he has hired and how much wealth he has in terms of taking care of his children. There is no world in which, if there was a CPS call and they even found enough evidence to actually take his children away, that his children would actually have a better life under the guidance of the state rather than amongst his family. Like that, I just, like, it's ridiculous. Okay, it is completely ridiculous. I don't want you guys to even entertain this notion. It's crazy. Foster care is a hellish nightmare. Okay, and the standard for a child being taken from their parents needs to be incredibly high, like predation, incest, something like that. Okay, it's crazy.
Who's seeing that content might be concerned enough to call CPS, including Ethan's own chat, which, by the way, is not a measly number. It's about 26,000 at the time of this stream. So there are 26,000 people listening to Ethan go into great detail over 7 or 8 minutes about diarrhea, viscosity of diarrhea, his child having giardia, him and his whole family having giardia. They're calling it the poop house. Now, what Ethan does, instead of taking any responsibility for sharing too much on his live stream, is that he decides to attack specific creators like Denims and say she was the source of the CPS call because her chat was reacting to Ethan and saying, wow, this is concerning.
Is on her platform right now advocating for our children to be forcibly removed from us by Child Protective Services.
The problem with this CPS thing is that Ethan has proven to be a manipulative piece of shit. So when he calls on me to defend him, what the f am I meant to do? I don't trust you, and I'm glad I didn't trust you because in your video defending yourself, you used a video that takes context from like 3 different places and combines them to make it seem like someone is coordinating an attack on you.
Love made a good point. You said, is this every comment? I believe this is a live feed of the chat. This isn't edited.
What about the top
This
right?
isn't the first time he's done this, by the way. When we literally were friends and had a podcast together, he was so invested in finding real anti-Semitism in my community at the time that he actually believed a doctored image that he straight ripped from Destiny's community. Destiny photoshopped chats from my community talking about, saying a bunch of like actually anti-Semitic shit, not even slicing, completely photoshopped images. And he brought that forward to me directly the last time we had a conversation, not yesterday. Think about how insane that is. And then instead of going, hey, maybe I should second guess how quick I am on the draw, he basically said, oh, I'm sorry that I got duped by this, but also it doesn't matter because your chat is saying stuff about me being a Zionist or my wife participating in IDF raids or whatever. The irony, of course, is that very same community that has been actively, unironically grooming a 40-year-old man used to call him the R word all the time. I don't even think they still like him, really. They just like that he's a weapon that they can wield. They do. There's a shit ton of logs. There's a shit ton of YouTube videos of back when we had a podcast together before October 7th, where they're just like, Ethan is the dumbest person on the planet, like shitting on him actively. So that's another thing that I will never understand about how excited he is to be a useful idiot for these guys. Like even Nicholas Eat Oreo, that dude called Gila a horse for years, okay? He called Gila a horse face for years. Keemstar. These are like super right-wing communities, okay? I don't understand how you just go, all right, well, now you're attacking the person that I want to undermine and you're giving me support, so it's okay. Yeah, bro pulled a Ted Cruz is right. He's just on the phone smiling and dialing to get people to campaign for Donald Trump, to get people to go out and vote for Donald Trump. If the Donald Trump said your wife is ugly and also your dad did the JFK assassination or your dad is a Zodiac killer. Yeah, Keemstar can defend Ethan all he wants. I'll always remember when this man was harassing Hila Klein, calling her a horse, and now Ethan wants to accept his support. Yeah. Ridiculous. That's the other side of it. Like I'm infinitely more understanding of even people's past service, right? I live in America. It would be antithetical to everything I believe in terms of people's capacity to change. Something that I believe is people's capacity to change no matter what they've done. Yeah, here is the Diddy G chat. Ethan Klein is such an R word. Destiny, is there anyone with a platform the size of Ethan that is consistently as big as an R word as he? Ethan is a R word and his entire team too, lol. Ethan is such an R word. Ethan is a R word, Omega lol. No Ethan Klein next to him. Azan instantly looks like an R word again, Omega lol. Ethan R word decline, lol W. Don't you do the same for Bad Empanada? I don't get the double standard. Okay, here's a great example of this. Bad Empanada and I align on a lot of issues in terms of the way we see the world, okay? We do not agree on we do not agree on tactics, we do not agree on methods, but overall, Bad Empanada is not my ideological enemy. I do not care. These guys are Ethan's ideological enemy if he ostensibly cares about anti-Semitism. That's my point. If he cares only about people engaging in bad faith smears against him, then these people have done a shit ton more than I ever have. My issue with Ethan was a disagreement with how he carries himself in a conversation revolving around a genocide that he also seemingly admits is happening. Do you not understand that? And if he also cares about anti-Semitism, as he clearly does not, but he claims that he cares about anti-Semitism, then he would be shocked that all of these people that his community is hyping up as defenders of him that have been anti-Semitic over and over and over again. Bad Empanada is a maniac. Bad Empanada is not an anti-Semite. Bad Empanada is a maniac that actually does incredible work when it comes to well-sourced YouTube essays. Okay? This has been my consistent position on Bad Empanada over and over and over and over again. What I don't get is how you'll say Empanada is nuts and then weaponize mania towards Ethan. No, as a matter of fact, I don't do that. You want to know why I don't do that? When Ethan goes, well, Bad Empanada called AB a house slave. What do you say to that? I'm like, I don't agree with that. I don't endorse that at all. Do you not understand? If I actually agreed with it, or if I actually agree with his methods, I'd be like, well, yeah, his constant hammering on of the CPS call is actually perfectly valid or whatever. You know what I mean? I wish that he wouldn't do any of that shit. I wish that he would focus less on drama in general. I wish, because whenever he tries to like cover that subject matter, he gets completely out of control. Do you see what I mean? They were hyping up Bo Blacks until he turned to white supremacy again. Yeah, Hassan endorses his research on the Jewish diaspora leaving the MENA region, not calling Hila the raider of Ramallah or playing the game where he like, I even understand what argument he's trying to make, right? When he plays the Al-Aqsa Martyrs video game, right? On Steam. When he's doing that, he's trying to showcase the double standard of people being called a terrorist and smeared viciously, as opposed to people who have actually taken up arms and engaged in acts of terrorism. Everybody has played Call of Duty. There is no issue with killing as many Muslims as possible. But when the roles are reversed, everybody loses their shit. Would I do that? Absolutely not. Okay? Never in a million years would I do that. I think it's an insane thing to do. Okay? It's an insane thing to do. The point I always make on this, by the way, is simple. If I were to come out with an insane statement and say, like, we must nuke Tel Aviv, then I would get banned off every platform and probably actually get sent to prison. But if I say, let's nuke Tehran or let's nuke the Gaza Strip, I would get elevated into the State Department to a higher position of power. Okay? This is the heart of that double standard. This is why I always say, while anti-Semitism and Islamophobia are both unacceptable forms of bigotry, anti-Semitism has institutional power. You can't engage in anti-Semitism, actual anti-Semitism, not like, or even you can't even engage in what people perceive as anti-Semitism, unless it's something as ridiculous as what Ethan is claiming, obviously, like the bleach sword, okay? But like even criticisms of Israel are packaged under anti-Semitism deliberately by the State Department to get people black-bagged, okay? But when you say Islamophobic shit, when you engage in Islamophobia, when you engage in anti-Arab bigotry, it's perfectly fine. Nobody ever bats an eye at that, okay? Destiny, Ethan is an R-word who thinks being friends with people is being their attack dog. Even Hassan thinks Ethan is an R-word. Think about that for 10 seconds. Omega lol.
Right. I thought these were
no,
selected.
It's this, I think when you full screen it, no, this is an edit. It's a cutout of the full chat. It's just enlarged there.
Oh, really?
Over the screen, yeah.
They're different, I think.
Yeah. It's not timed. It's not timed the same way.
But it sounds like based on this clip, you knew that it was bullshit and you just went with it anyway. Ethan Klein uses this very deceptively edited video that is just like doing this smooth scroll to make it seem like that's all of Denham's chat. But that's not what it is. And then when he's called out on it, he hides it. He moves his window over the real chat.
Also, this is not a joking matter, by the way. It can be very severe and deadly to small children. I mean, much like many other illnesses,
reading the chat, co-signing
it's very,
it.
very, very dangerous.
Now pay
So
attention to
he
her
doesn't actually
chat.
have a housekeeper anymore, or perhaps he lost his extra housekeeper. So
Yeah,
now the
people are saying, what the what? That's crazy.
house is just like covered in dog shit. And he has kids, and his kids like.
Why does it have to be anyone else's fault but your own? Take some responsibility. It's just so bizarre that Ethan would expect Anise and I to make a statement when Denims herself already made a statement about it and said that she does not condone calling CPS.
So we're talking about CPS. 1, I don't condone. 2, I've never condoned it, and you will not be able to find a clip of me saying, yes, we should do this, because it doesn't exist. I've literally given Ethan Klein credit on multiple times or multiple instances, and I will do it again right now, for not showing photos of his kids.
Part of my criticisms of Ethan initially was the openness. I think it's a problem that you are that open, Ethan.
Well, you know I'm very open about everything. It's part of how I wanted to conduct myself and how I wanted to relate to the audience is to be open.
According to the Content Deputy video, people in the comments are not even giving this video the benefit of the doubt. Just hate commenting and leaving. How do you reach people like that? I don't know. It is what it is. You can't win them all, chat. Do you see what I mean? You can't win them all. You just have to chip away.
As possible about everything in my life.
It is not strictly a benefit to be as open as possible on your podcast.
I don't think Ethan particularly cares about any of this unless it has to do with him. I say this because he kept asking you a question and then telling you to stop talking so long after you would talk for like 5 seconds. Crazy stuff. I know.
Ethan was just sharing his thoughts. What we were thinking, we were speculating.
Sonny's crawling around. He's putting everything in his mouth. He's at that age. He has giardia.
We were speculating.
Oh,
and now Hila has giardia.
Shut.
Be open as possible about everything in my life.
Yeah, really? How many siblings do you have? I don't know, dude. The internet's too weird to give out all that information.
Oh, you don't even want to say how many because you're afraid that it will somehow
by all means,
compromise
keep
your
talking
privacy.
about it.
On top of Ethan characterizing me and my wife as anti-Semitic, he also takes a dig at my tattoos.
Bro, you literally look like a free tattoo pack that you get for 25 cents from a windy thing, bro. Like, literally, my kids have cooler tattoos from Chuck E. Cheese. Bro looks like he just went to the menu and was like, I'll take that one, that one, that one, that one, that one, and that one.
I have quite a few options here. I can show your tattoos in all of their glory, or I can show that your tattoo made it to the top of awful taste but great execution subreddit, which is not a good thing. I mean, it might be a good thing for the artists that you work with because that means that they did a good job from a technical standpoint, but it's sort of a failure in every other aspect, particularly the decision-making aspect. If you want to go tattoo for tattoo, Ethan, we can do that. You want to keep it to other things? We can. I'll give you that option. Ethan also talks about the potential CTE that I might have after boxing.
Yes.
Ethan, your whole system is scrambled.
No, your brain is scrambled from getting punched in the face too many times because you don't understand the situation. Some people are saying the CTE is starting to take effect, I guess. That would be comforting if there was some explanation, at least.
Any amount of CTE that I may have endured after doing 2 boxing matches, I'm going to say is preferred over having to share the load of doing 50 jumping jacks with my wife.
Yeah, what if we we'll both do 25 at once?
25 each? Or
Oh my goodness.
Great form by
Yeah,
both.
really nice. They must work out.
Also, why are you talking about CTE at all? Like, you've continually illustrated that you can't keep track of.
I didn't miss him showing the Hilo tattoo. I just don't care. Like, I think this is iDubbbz returning to form in some fashion where he's like, if you want to go band for band, like, I'll be vicious. But ultimately, this isn't even a criticism of iDubbbz. I personally don't give a shit about whatever tattoo Ethan gets or engage in any sort of psychoanalysis over what that spells for his marriage, which is, of course, something that I saw his own fan base make jokes about. Like, not iDubbbz's. I'm saying Ethan's own fan base was making jokes about that. You have not mentioned Ethan's kids once, the crew, or his family in any shape or form to this day. You're still charitable and focused on the politics. Ethan, on the other hand, has brought up your mom, dad, friends, your dog, even your quote-unquote housekeeper, sex life. I know, everything. Literally everything. Like, Ethan has also personally brought forward his family members, including his dad and his mom. Like, he's made them a primary fixture of his content. They've done a lot of weird shit. I never touched on that. I don't care to touch on it. You know what I mean? I think that's irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. But because he's doing a faucet of misinfo and trying to shit smear to the best of his goddamn ability, not obsessed, by the way, of course. Like, he said my glasses are fake. Like, it's silly. It's frivolous.
anything.
It came up because they were talking about it on their podcast. By the way, they're the ones that like started this conversation by talking about it on the podcast. Be like, hey, I'm not getting involved.
I think that was their response after you guys initially called them out.
He can't even keep straight who attacked who first. He thinks that our podcast where we're expressing sympathy for him and Eli.
Yeah, I mean, he was so obsessed with like winning the argument in clips in his mind that he went so far as to call his own wife a terrorist. Yes, this is correct. That boy deadly. You are correct in that assessment. He literally immediately was like, hey, it's a genocide. Let's move on from that. And then whenever I was like, okay, if you believe it's a genocide, then why do you think that it's appropriate for you to constantly cover? Like, what do you think is more urgent? What do you think is more significant? What do you think is more severe? Yeah, shit like this. Tank this, foot soldiers. What the like brigading my goddamn wiki feet, bro. That is nutty.
Was the impetus for him talking shit about us. I much prefer boxing-induced CTE than harassment-induced CTE. Ethan acts like we're such great friends and that like he shared such intimate moments with me, but it's all horseshit. He's lying. Like the whole thing is a lie. He's manipulating his audience. We did not have a close relationship.
You guys were buddies for a long time.
He texted me like one time like, hey dude, we should talk this out. And I was like, I don't feel like having this conversation right now. That's it. So Ian kept trying to get me on the phone or text with me. And I told him, dude, honestly, I don't feel like having this conversation right now.
Okay.
Fair, right? I just didn't want to do it. Okay?
Just in that particular moment, and then like at all?
Well, it turns out I didn't want to talk to him at all.
Okay.
If the relationship was that close, you would have talked to me on the phone. You wouldn't have shit-talked me. You would be curious where my brain was at and where I was coming from. There's this moment in the Content Cop where I'm trying to give an example of the cycle of harassment. Have you ever been in a comment section and found someone to argue with? It doesn't stop. It can literally go on forever if you don't want to touch grass.
New dog whistle just dropped. Your use of the number 110 to describe the amount of IG stories they're saying is another dog whistle. Dude, I feel like Ethan's community might actually have unironic content-induced, like a content-induced mass hysteria. You know what I mean? Because like that doesn't make any fucking sense at all, bro. That does not make any sense. Like what would it even imply? What would 110 of his own Instagram stories? What would that imply? What is anti-Semitic? It's definitely related to the 101. Oh my God. Oh, 109 is the anti-Semitic dog whistle that is all of the Nazis will say Jews have been cast out of 109 countries. It must not be a coincidence, implying that like Jews are responsible for their own pogroms because it was justifiable to do pogroms to them. Holy shit. No, not 110 Arab countries. No. Oh my lordy. This is also extreme level dog whistles that most of you are probably even probably not of you're probably oblivious to. Wouldn't that mean that he was the one being crypto Nazi since he made the 110 posts? Yeah, what the hey yo. Regarding Hassan, fans spamming 110 on this subreddit is a vague reference to the amount towards the times. Ethan has posted an Instagram story mentioning Hassan. Help me fight a hallucination. You post this number even on threads where it's completely irrelevant. This number just also happens to be a known neo-Nazi dog whistle. So please prove to me that Ethan mentioned Hassan exactly this many times. Prove to me that you didn't stretch out the amount of times Ethan mentioned Hassan to land exactly on this number. Tell me why you're reasoning. What the bro? It wasn't even the entirety of the times that he's mentioned me. That was the initial tabulation without even factoring in clips, dude. It's literally... Oh, God. It's like every single time they come up with some new shit, every single time they come up with some new shit, it's like I have to entertain their goddamn hallucinations. Like, that is psychotic. You don't need to defend yourself. Shut the fuck up. Yeah, that's so ridiculous.
Let's continue. This was kind of... Okay, what does that have to do with me?
I don't know.
Are you okay?
Ethan and Eli act like they have no idea what I'm talking about here. So, I mean, maybe they don't. It's a very obvious and easy to digest point. That's why I made it that way. I'm going to explain it here so everyone on the internet understands. When you have a podcast where you are constantly emotionally dumping and saying things just off the top of your head, and you're attacking other people randomly, maybe from your perspective it's not attacking. Maybe you're just commenting on someone else's situation.
He's got to be one of the most visually repulsive people. FaZe Banks, like, in my opinion, he's somewhat repulsive to look at.
And be
pedophile.
That's crazy. Whoa, what the f? Saying that about Brother Banks is unacceptable. Bridge too far.
Pirate Software was like weird about it. It's like, look at my old voice, it's so lame. What an obnoxious loser. She goes, I can't believe these people are so obnoxious. And he looks like an idiot who's obsessed with me, dude.
But what happens when other people comment on your situation? It doesn't feel too good, does it?
But he's like, no, actually, Ethan, the Jew bag, this Jew bag Zionist baby killer, guys, right? I don't know if that's what.
Yeah, did anyone say that? Like, who said that? Like, did I say that? Why are you? Did iDub say that? Why is that your Insta lock? Like, what the? The only person doing that, the only person saying that is Ethan himself. It's so ridiculous. I would say it. Okay, well, then you get banned. What do you mean? You're not calling Ethan a Jew bag. You think that's appropriate or acceptable? What the do you think? Some dumb, once again, remember, 10-minute follow period. Some get real comfortable in here and they get clapped instantly. Which is why it's so funny whenever Ethan or anyone else tries to be like, he has an incredibly anti-Semitic community.
The video is.
That is the back and forth I'm describing. You might have thought, we were just saying that Ian and Anissa are bad friends. Well, guess what? We didn't take it that way.
Our POV is like everybody, and I don't want to hear any excuses. You're not my friend, and you never were, and you never will be. You never will be.
What we took it as is Ethan and Neil are shit-talking us. They just implied that we are okay with people using CPS as harassment, and now all of their fans are brigading us. So I am going to respond in kind and make a content cop.
Unironically, the most anti-Semitic person involved in all this so far has been Ethan himself. I disagree. I think the most anti-Semitic people involved in this are definitely a lot of the neo-Nazis that love that they can use Ethan like a fleshlight, okay? There's definitely more anti-Semitic people. I get what the point you're trying to make, however. The point you're trying to make is that Ethan is dangerous conflation of anti-Zionism and anti-Semitism, or like his mechanism of using anti-Semitism as a way to attack as a way to shield himself from any sort of like valid criticism in terms of his coverage around this thing that he considers to be a genocide as well. That is definitely dangerous, as Sam Cedar also correctly pointed out. Sam Cedar absolutely pointed to this. He was honed in on it, as a matter of fact, when he was trying to get a gotcha out of him.
So yes, that is what the cycle of harassment looks like.
Okay, what does that have to do with me?
I don't know.
How about you Nazis? How about that?
You might think that all of the harassment you're getting has everything to do with your politics and your idea of Israel-Palestine, but a lot of my gripes were centered around you dragging me into your shit. You know, you knew that you were going through a lot, and you were saying, I'm hurting, I'm now going to make them hurt because they're not putting their head on the chopping block. You're a piece of shit. I'm sure there's anti-Semitic people that are attacking you guys, but they're not me, they're not Anissa. It's not Hassan, it's not all of these other creators that you're attacking. You're not the biggest victim on the internet, Ethan. Other people can experience a horrible time. And guess what? They're not getting this other benefit, which is 26,000 viewers. You're getting a lot of money and a lot of content, a lot of things that you care about from these beefs and from this harassment. There are a lot of people that you've just bullied and they have nothing to gain out of it. Frogan isn't making a bag from this. She's not getting content out of this.
Yeah.
You're attacking her in relentless ways and endorsing so much worse harassment than what even you send her way.
Yeah.
The shitty,
which his own crew actually recognized, which he complained about when they recognized that.
he said and posted about Frogan over the past years is like insanely nasty shit.
Yeah.
Worse than anyone I've seen. If this is true, absolutely mind-blowing, insane shit.
Hold on. It's not worse than anything you've seen. How could it be worse than anything you've seen?
Literally, no. I guess
he was
not.
very nasty. Well, I'm just saying people like want to like get lay down and like.
I'm talking about specifically against Frogan.
But like he called her fat, right, and ugly, which.
Like there are wake up calls after wake up calls after wake up calls for members of his community that see him engage in everything from the most self-centered, most narcissistic, childish way possible. What about me? I am actually the biggest victim of all time. Me. Like, I've made it a point to always mention that regardless of the financial hit or regardless of the endless amounts of harassment and maybe even legal, like criminal repercussions that might come my way, that my commentary on this issue is important to me, and I don't care about the penalties because it's inconsequential in comparison to all of the real victims that are experiencing a genocide. Okay? It's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. So even when people, or even when I personally bring up like, oh, after October 7, like a third of my community left, that was a major exodus. That made me feel horrible because it made me feel as though people were just completely oblivious to what was actually unfolding. Okay. What legal things might you face? I mean, this administration is so insane. Who knows where this will go? I'm not saying, I'm not doing like the David Pakman thing of like, oh, the admin told me not to leave the country or anything like that. But who knows? Who knows where this will go?
Just horrifically mean. I get called a baby killer.
I was talking specifically about
That's way
Frogan.
worse than being called fat and ugly, in my opinion.
Also, on top of Ethan and Neela constantly victimizing themselves, I did notice that as soon as we didn't immediately jump to Ethan and Neela's defense, Ethan took that to heart and he started to make that his employees' problems. Instead of just, sucking it up and taking it on himself, he decided to imply that...
How do you, General you, try and identify real anti-Semites who hide behind the term Zionism? Like, it's so easy for these actual races to just use Zionism as a term, as a gateway to their beliefs. How do folks dissect people's true intentions? Whenever start talking about the Talmud, that's a really good example. Whenever hyper focus on Mossad doing any sort of like blackmailing operation, which is true, they have, right? But only talk about Mossad. Whenever people talk about the mutually beneficial relationship between the United States of America and Israel and make it seem as though Israel is the party that controls the United States of America. Is the Israeli lobby very influential in American politics? Absolutely. Are there a lot of Jewish advocacy groups that masquerade as Jewish advocacy groups when in fact their sole purpose of existence is to either do social conditioning for Zionism or directly defend the state of Israel, as we have seen in this past year in the way that even like the Congress of Rabbis have basically weaponized their religious status as a means to criticize other Jews that are speaking out against this genocide. Absolutely true. Having said that, I'll tell you what, a lot of anti-Semites, from what I have seen, that masquerade as people who are actually anti-Zionist, they will inevitably always reveal their true perspective. Anti-Semites love noticing things. Like they'll point to their nose to be like, this is another dog whistle. Like, I'm a noticer. That's another thing that they do. They'll almost always reveal their real true nature. They cannot stop themselves from constantly bringing everything back to Jews. Okay? Anti-Semites, first and foremost, will never separate Israel and Zionism from Judaism. Okay? That's an immediate telltale sign that you might be talking to someone who is anti-Semitic. The U.S. Liberty talking points normally comes from right-wing reactionaries. I know, but like it's also not... In the past, I would have said you might be talking to a reactionary, but I wouldn't say that now. What's wrong with the Talmud? It gives directions for stuff like keeping kosher foods. What do you mean what's wrong with the Talmud? When people talk about Talmudic law and they're not a rabbi, they literally don't know what the they're talking about. Most normal Jews are not tapped into to the Talmud, and it's not even supposed to be a religious text that is offering you guidance. It's supposed to be discourse. It's supposed to be interpreted differently by different parties. That's the whole point. No one. It's like when Islamophobes will be like, it's Sharia law. This is Sharia law. Okay. If the Talmud is like if Kafka wrote a terms of service agreement, that's really funny. Okay. Yeah. Most rabbis aren't tapped in. Yeah. Whenever someone says like Talmudic rituals or something like that, that is the leading motivator for Israel. So that's like that's another thing that you that's another thing that's like not always a telltale sign, but usually a pretty clear indication. But the number one indication is ask someone who is anti-Zionist if this is a byproduct of Judaism or not, especially in the Western world. Especially in the Western world. If you talk to an Arab, yeah, they're going to use the term Jew or Zionist interchangeably or Israel interchangeably because, as I've maintained over and over again, as I've mentioned over and over again, that's the only version they know, right? But if you live in an actual multifaceted environment, a diverse environment in the Western world, and you have developed these opinions, you have developed this perspective that anti-Zionism Zionism is interchangeable with Judaism, that is false. That is a false conflation. If someone is anti-Israel and they say, yeah, just the way that the Jews work, I guess, you know, if they do shit like that, you're most likely talking to someone who is anti-Semitic. Another one I've seen anti-Semites say is Jewish media as opposed to Hebrew media or Israeli media. Jewish media, no, that one is that's not that relevant. If you're talking about Israeli media, that's not like. Ironically enough, Jews do control the media in one place on the planet, and that is Israel. that much is, I mean, that's a meme. But if they're talking about like New York Times or whatever, once again, and they say, oh, it's Jewish media, then yeah, they're anti-Semitic. So none of this is exactly helpful. Wait, why? You asked me what would be clear-cut indicators. I'm giving you the greatest mechanism to spell out anti-Semitism coming from someone who claims to be an anti-Zionist is the answer to a very simple question. Is this a byproduct of Judaism, or is Zionism separate from Judaism and Jews? That's it. That's it. Ironically enough, a lot of anti-Semitic people who are pro-Israel will make that conflation as a way to defend Israel, and a lot of anti-Semites who are anti-Israel will make that dangerous conflation to disparage Jews. Asking for a third time, can you expand on the Mossad dog whistles? Oh yeah, that was another good one that I forgot to mention. So Mossad is Mossad is Israel's espionage arm, right? And yes, Mossad and the CIA have often collaborated. Mossad and CIA have also butted heads. Jonathan Pollard is a great example of this, or Israeli espionage that was undermining America's strategy or strategic interests or national security is a great example of this. Having said that, however, a lot of the people who are anti-Semitic, but basically trying to repackage conspiracy theories as anti-Zionist, okay, will literally always make it seem as though America is actually an infallible Christian nation. The inference there is that America is an infallible Christian nation, but they're simply being blackmailed by the Jews to do this kind of stuff. Whenever you hear that, and it feels as though they're trying to take the responsibility of empire away from the United States of America, remember that that is not the case. Mossad should be seen as an extension of the CIA, not a mechanism of espionage that has actually made the United States of America as pro-Israel as it is. Has Mossad contributed to this? Has Mossad contributed to America's interests in using Israel as a weapon? Absolutely. Do you think there's a genuine connection between Epstein, Mossad, honeypotting U.S. politicians? Thanks for clearing up that question. Again, if you think Epstein is simply a Mossad asset and was seemingly allowed to operate on U.S. soil without any sort of CIA involvement, that's crazy. you are abdicating the responsibility of American imperialism away from the actual the actual country that is most responsible for it. Do you understand? It is closer to the truth to say that Mossad is an extension of the CIA and not vice versa. That's why the likes of Ian Carroll, for example, will often, that's why the likes of Ian Carroll will often come across the argument, and they do a decent job of hiding their anti-Semitic tendencies, but they will every time you listen to what they're saying, it almost comes across as like America as a nation is actually good, okay, and has a lot of good output, but they're simply being manipulated by the Jews by way of Mossad to do some bad things, okay? And while there have been influence operations, obviously, as I described, right, that does not mean that America is letting it happen because of this, because they're being mind controlled by the Jews. Also, ask them about the Holocaust. That's another thing. Anti-Semites cannot stop themselves. They cannot, like I said, at the end of the day, an anti-Semite will reveal their true position to you eventually. They cannot help themselves. They want to constantly tell you, like, no, you don't understand. Let me tell you about Jewish mind control. I find it crazy. 70% of your coverage is about America being demonic for allowing this, and 30% highlighting the atrocity that Israel commits, yet somehow get tarred as being anti-Semitic. No, the reason why that happens, for the record, let me tell you something. Do you want to know why that happens? Ethan actually revealed that in a really funny and really selfish way in our conversation. In our conversation where I asked him dead on, like, why do you care less about Candace Owens, who you and I both agree is anti-Semitic, going on Theo Vaughn than someone like myself? Ethan in that conversation turned around and said, does anyone have the clip? That he respects Candace Owens and that he respects Nicholas Fuentes because they are out and about anti-Semites. Let me see if I can find it. I think I reposted one. Hold on.
You know those cringe people that go to college and then come...
Hold on. TikTok time. How the f do I get to my profile? I always have a hard time finding my own goddamn profile. Oh, here it is. Where is it? 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 Where is it?
Oh,
you think I'm anti-Semitic now? Because 2 days ago you said I wasn't.
I'm gonna answer.
Okay.
Your form of anti-Semitism is way more insidious because it's silent, it's tricky. She's out there just saying what she believes, and I respect her for that. Nick Fuentes is just out there. Nobody knows that what's his stance on Israel. Candace Owens' stance on Israel. But you're tricky. What you do is deny the heritage of Middle Eastern Jews, stuff like that. You accuse them of being always the oppressor, always. Everything. And by the way, you spent the first part of this debate calling me insane for what I think most people would perceive as blatant, obvious anti-Semitic acts.
You see? You understand? I am even more of a problem than Candace Owens is, than Nick Fuentes is. Why? Because I hide my anti-Semitism, whereas they are open about their anti-Semitism. You know who feels this way? Well, aside from Ethan, the likes of the ADL. Why do they feel this way? The reason why they feel this way is because it is infinitely more dangerous for someone like myself in the short term because of short-term thinking. If your goal is to preserve and defend the interests of Israel, I am a significantly bigger threat in the short term than someone like Candace Owens or Nicholas Fuentes is. Why? Because this is an anti-Zionist Jewish social conditioning seminar, okay? Everyone that makes their way here that isn't like lost in the sauce, or even those who are lost in the sauce, very quickly will understand that I am not an anti-Semite. And as a matter of fact, I spent a good deal of time shitting on anti-Semitism. And that, in the short term, and I don't think Ethan is using that in the same way that like the ADL finds me to be a threatening person, okay? Ethan here is just exercising that because he's personally... he has his own personal agenda. I don't even think it's from the virtues of defending Israel, right? As an original H3 fan who found you through Leftovers, the saga has made me realize Ethan has managed to make this all completely about himself and his personal grievances using classic All Lives Matter, plus a complex historical situation, an issue that is not complicated. It's convoluted but clear cut what the right and wrong side of the issue is, and Ethan has taken it upon himself to use his entire platform to run Hasbro. Thank you for recognizing that. That was my point. Do you see what I mean, though? I always maintain this position that, like, in the short term, not in the long term, by the way, because in the long term, of course, Candace Owens and Nicholas Fuentes are infinitely more dangerous for American Jews than I ever could be in the short term or the long term, right? They're actually far more dangerous because they actually are anti-Semitic. And not only are they actually anti-Semitic, they're growing in prominence as a consequence of their anti-Semitic sentiment, constantly packaging shit from the framework of this is the Jews' fault. This is the Jews' fault. That is, especially when the most popular voices on the other side defending the actions of Israel are literally turning around and also making that conflation. Also, wait, what do you mean close the tab? What? Oh, because people are gonna write like crazy shit in the comments to try to catch me slipping. Here, I'll just hide the noties. Actual real question: what will it take for you to stop talking about Ethan? He apologizes. I mean, this is going to be as I said already, I will be reacting to the context nuke in real time, alongside iDubbbz and maybe some other people as well, live to fundraise for not just the Creator Clash in general, but the charity that they want to fundraise for. I will be doing that, and that will be most likely the last time I talk about it, unless he turns around and actually tries to do more Hasbara. Outside of that, it needs to reach a level of like Israel defense that I think is unconscionable for me to talk about it, which was my initial standard anyway. Careful, he's collecting for the total runtime of talking about Ethan version 2. Yeah, it doesn't matter. I don't give a shit. I mean, but this is, of course, immediately after the debate took place, so I'm obviously going to do a recap on that. But here,
I don't think most people would look at what you're doing right now and
let's not worry about that.
Sign of mental sanity.
Well, we'll have time to pull the audience afterwards.
Yeah. Have you asked Ethan, what could I do or say that would prove to you I'm not anti-Semitic? That would have been a good question to ask. I don't think I asked him that. Anyway.
Lena is going to have a problem with that.
A lot of this has ramifications for the crew. The way that they have it set up is basically if Lena were to drop out, she would lose she would have to pay back like $25,000 or something like insane. And besides that, which I told her I would cover if she wanted to drop out, she's been working really hard. And just because I'm having an issue with what's going on here.
You bringing up Lena dropping out of the fight was you publicly showing to your fans, like, I don't approve of this. You were saying this shit before the content cop even came out.
Which I told her I would cover if she wanted to drop out.
But now you are saying that you didn't have a problem with any of it.
Was Narcus coming after you for your kneecap support? Okay. Yeah, I don't care. See, this is the type of shit that, you don't have to bring up for me. You know what I mean? I don't care. Okay, cool. So what? Like, this is what I mean in terms of, irrelevant. Doesn't matter.
But until I made the video.
I was totally on board until the organizer put out a video calling me a psychopath for harassing his friend.
Obviously, Ethan and Neela will victimize themselves every chance they get. But when they have the chance to victimize someone else who's on their crew, they'll also do that.
You already forced Lena into this horrible situation. And again, you forced this situation on her.
Why would I do such a thing to Lena? Dude, you have as much agency as I do. You didn't have to badmouth me on your podcast. That was a choice that you made.
So go f*** yourself.
I agree. My good friends who I stood by after all these years can't find a spine to speak up.
Oh, the organizers of this event are not jumping to my defense? All right, well, maybe instead of shit-talking them, maybe I should zip it.
So go f*** yourself.
I agree. You already forced Lena into this horrible situation. And again, you forced this situation on her. By the way, iDubbbz, Lena's having a panic attack.
So go f*** yourself.
I agree.
But you're just lobbing it to me and Anissa. I'm lobbing it back to you. You're the one who brought it up. If you lob it back to me and you say, well, I didn't have your back publicly. Well, f*** you. I'm going to lob it back and say, you're being irresponsible on your podcast and you're not taking any accountability for the shit you're putting out online. I think that's going to do it for this video. There's a lot more that I can share, but I'll save that for the future. And in closing, I will reiterate so that, there's no ambiguity about it. Anissa and I are no longer involved in Creator Clash. We're stepping down completely. We hope that the event is a massive success this year. We hope that all of the fighters get what they wanted out of it. I'm sorry that I'm such a nasty person who just wants to roll around in the shit. I'll put the link to Creator Clash down in the description if you want to support them in their mission to get creators to fight and raise money for charity. You can do that down there. I will be doing that on my own, and I hope you guys have a good time. Also, for all the people who touch grass, I want to remind you to click the like button on this video, not so it goes in your algorithm or anything, just specifically so that we can add a counter narrative, or I can get an idea of how much astroturfing is out there.
Surely the good guy in this situation f***ed up a charity event, right? Yeah, of course. For purely personal reasons too.
Because I know that a lot of these they love their dislike button extensions. And I saw that shit and I was like, what the f***? These are all like fabricated numbers. The like-dislike ratio was like 80-20 on my video, and then they tried to create a narrative of like, no, people actually hate this content cop, guys. It's actually so much worse. Like, bitch, like, people were more upset with, like, my wife being on OnlyFans. You're not gonna convince the internet that Ethan Klein isn't being a piece of shit. Like, sorry, guys. It doesn't matter how many dislike extensions you have.
We can free Palestine without being a Nazi, okay? Yeah, you guys too, okay? How about you Nazis? How about that?
It's blatantly and obviously disingenuous. This shit blew my mind. Like, this is insane. And, like, dangerous. He is going out of his way to slander you as a neo-Nazi. Like, that can get you hurt.
Wait, who? What is he talking about there? Twitter is claiming your latest vid has a negative like ratio. The extension is fake as what is it? Let's see. I have no idea what it is. I mean, I'm sure it's been heavily brigaded. How do I see the... How could I see what the actual like to dislike ratio is on a video? Like, it might be. It might actually be. You know what I mean? I don't even know where to look. How do I look at it? How do I find it? Chat, where do I find the dislike? In the YouTube studio, right? I'm so stupid. Go to video analytics. Okay. Wait. What are people claiming on the like to dislike ratio, chat? What are people claiming on my video? What are they saying the like to dislike ratio is? Show me a link. They say it's negative. Just show me a link instead of saying it. Just link me a dislike extender screenshot, please. Oof. The dislikes on the extension on the main channel too. That's really interesting. Well, yeah. Do you want to know what it actually looks like? Boom. So maybe we can put this dumb shit to bed. Wow, what a worthwhile extension. I wonder if this will make its way to LSF. I wonder if this will make its way to Reddit. Probably not. The current extension, currently the extension shows that I have 18,000 likes and 25,000 dislikes. I just showed you from my own analytics in real time that the like to dislike ratio is actually 86% like. Wow. They really did a number on this one. I have to admit that's supreme confidence from you. Yeah, I don't even know how to pull dislikes, and I don't even give a shit. Yeah, sometimes I get brigaded for sure. You know? What's your opinion about the AfD being declared right-wing extremist group in Germany? Great, because it's correct. The dislike extensions basically extrapolate data based off how many people with the extension click like versus dislike, but it's biased because people with the extension are far more likely to hit dislike on a video. They were reposting it on the H3 subreddit as proof as well. I wonder if they will also repost the correct narrative now. No, they won't, because they're insane. They don't give a shit. Or now, because I've actually said that they won't post it, they might. 19K to 25K, baby. Oh. Hold on. Let me... Also, wait a minute. What was it when I first showed it? What was it when I first showed it, chat? They will... But they say the ratio is from another video. Dude, it is literally the title of the video. I just showed it to you. It was 86. Oh, yeah, okay. It's 86.8 right now. I was wondering if it actually made the like to dislike ratio look worse or something.